Welcome, you have reached review time with Imperial, and today's review will be BMF Season 3, Episode 10. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Let's get into it. So this is season finale. This is pretty much push the story forward and wrapping up the season. You got the flashback. Of course, starts off with a younger Meech and Terry talking about how, they're going to sell weight. Meech pretty much saying he dropping out of school and, starting their plan to get money. From there, it showed Meech and them trying to figure out how to get their cars back with the weight. However, Remy, Atlanta, he's connected, so he's got some police officers on payroll. He was able to go to the yard and get their vans. Of course, they can't get into them because the weight and everything is in the safe. So that's the plan. Figure out how we're going to get the weight back. Meanwhile, Terry gets the call that Hoop was shot. He rushes back to Detroit to get check on Hoop. Meanwhile, you have Detective Jen. She goes and see Kobe's father, finds out, and he was already suspect when he asked her did she have a name, and she said, do you know the Andreas family? So you knew right then and there that he was connected with Andreas Blaze and everything like that. So, but she didn't know that at the time. So then it showed Henri shaving off her hair. Henry's pretty much been one of the worst villains. So you just knew they was gonna wrap up with her this episode. Meanwhile, Charles and Lucille, they finally went through with the divorce. And when they went through with the divorce, it was painful for both of them. Lucille went straight to the doctor. Now, I've been looking at this the whole season, and I don't know if I ever said it on my videos, but I said the doctor is suspect. Sure enough, she showed up to the hotel. He had it all set and laid for her, and he knocked it down. So, he finally knocked down Lucille, and after he knocked it down, he hit them cheeks. She was pretty much said, I'm done with Charles. We put her divorce, and she ready to move forward, and it's like one door closed and another door open. And he said, well, basically, I want to start this off with no lies. And he had this suspect look on his face, and he began to say that he's been engaged for the last 2 years, and he couldn't walk down the aisle because the woman wasn't him. And Lucille felt like a fool. So a lot of us had suspected that a lot of us probably was thinking that the doctor had a wife back home, wife and kids back home. So we wasn't far off, it just was suspect. He showed up there, he's this successful, and then he showed up in this town like that, and he wasn't already occupied or whatever. So he's already established. So then it showed Meech back in Atlanta. It showed Meech and what's that girl name? The girl, his love interest, Angel. Show him and Angel looking at the board of Atlanta, pretty much him saying how he's gonna take over and telling her, like, basically believe in herself, and he's inspiring her to do better and stand on her own. So she has that inspirational moment. So what Terry does back in Detroit, the people he's supplying, he tells them to set Henri up. They pretty much told him they didn't want to be part of it, but he said, well, if y'all don't want to be part of it, I'll cut y'all supply off. So the dad came in, pretty much told Terry, listen, me and your mom went through with the divorce. And so the next scene, it shows Henri. She got the bald head now, and while she's in there with Jen, of course, remember her cane is bugged. So Bryant is outside listening, and he's still going through his motions. So as Jen and Henry started to get it on, Henry got a phone call, and it was her dad pretty much telling her that she messed up, and Detective Jen, the woman that she's with, is really a cop. So as she got off the phone, Henry act like she wanted to play rough sex with Jen, and then started to strangle her. And so Brian is listening, so he go into action and rush into the building. Jen was able to break loose and run. So it becomes a shootout where Henry is shooting after Jen, and Bryant comes in shooting after her. And so he did eventually catch uh, Henry in the leg. So back in Atlanta, Meech and Duffy and them pretty much showed up to where Sharp hangs out, and they pretty much balling out and showing like we still get money even though y'all got to wait. Now Sharp is already looking like, listen, we know Remy got y'all cars with the weight, so y'all ain't gonna be able to move like that. So Meech is pretty much telling them like, nobody's getting that weight. It's secured. Basically, Sharp was down with Remy's right hand man, but Remy came, intervened, shut that down. But Sharp still, like they told me, Sharp is a businessman. So if you show him you got the work and everything, he might be still down. So Meech put a move in play so that Sharp had access to where the vehicles was hitting at. But when Sharp was talking to Meech, one of Sharp's boys was looking. Pretty much he was going to tell Remy, yo, Sharp is going to change. So they end up going to the yard where the vehicles was. They told Sharp to turn around. Meech went into one of the vehicles, grabbed the weight out, showed him that the weight is pure. Pretty much told him like, I wasn't BSing, let's get it on. And so Sharp was like, how can I be part of BMF? And so right when they was ready to pull off, Remy showed up with his guys, showed up with their guns. Meech just pulled off full steam ahead. They got out the way, was shooting them. Nobody really got shot, but then one of the guys did get ran over by the car. So Remy was pissed at that moment right there. So at this time, Meech got their weight back. Terry is still looking to set up Henry, and Killer herself. And his guy was pretty much saying, "Look, man, you ain't no killer. Once you go this path, you ain't gonna be able to turn back." So Terry was like, "Nah, I gotta get this done." So he was fully ready. Meanwhile, Henry was in a warehouse somewhere waiting for her dad, and so her cane that she got still got a chip on it, and she didn't know that. So Bryant and Jen knew where she was at. Meanwhile, they're listening in, and Blaze comes in, so he had a real minimum role this whole season. They could have did more with his character, but I don't know why they just killed him like that. But nevertheless, he's blasting Henry. He calls her Henrietta. She feel disrespected. She said, "My name's Henry. Say my name." And she pulled a gun out on her dad. The dad pretty much said, "See, this is why I don't want women in the game. You're too emotional." And so he didn't think his own daughter would shoot her. Now, her uncle was sitting there the whole time, and that's his brother, and he didn't even intervene. He was trying to tell him chill, but, she pulled a gun out. So, nevertheless, she, out of rage, she shot and killed her dad down. The uncle was looking like, but then again, the uncle did side with her a few episodes ago. So, by the time she was in motion to wrap the body up, the cops came in and arrested her. Pretty much told her she's going down. Now, Jen said, every time you come up on an appeal, I'm gonna be there waiting for you to stop you. Then from there, you had Bryant come in and pretty much told her, I don't want to kill your cousin. So she was pissed at that, but ain't nothing she could do. She's going to jail now. So right when this took place, Terry showed up and seen Henri getting locked up. So now his Henri troubles is over. So Remy, what happened with Remy? Remy showed up to his projects, seen Meech in there talking, rolled up on Meech and was great, pulled a gun out. All the homies in the projects pulled a gun out on Remy, pretty much telling him, like, yo, you done, man. Like, we trying to get money. You chill, you know. We trying to get down with BMF. You on some bull. So Remy pretty much said, yo, this ain't going to be the last y'all heard about me. He went out talking trash. So it showed him later on that night driving, and Corner Boy was selling some water. He went and bought the water from him. And when he turned his head, he got his head blown off. So Remy's out of here too. So they basically was just wrapping up. So then it showed Meech. They finally got Atlanta as their distribution hub. And it showed they had St. Louis, Cleveland, I think was Alabama, one of Alabama. So they had like six, like a week later they had like the generals of their states all showed up. Was like 5 of them showed up, and pretty much Meech was telling them, yo, this is the hub. This is now that they got the cars and they can't get stopped by the cops. I mean, if they get stopped by the cops, they're good. Pretty much it showed this is where they're coming pick up their weight and their money. This is their own distribution hub. And then it showed all of them getting stopped by the cops and nothing happened. So they was in good money. So then it showed back in Detroit, LaWanda pretty much telling Terry she want to go back to cosmetology school. And he pretty much told her he's going to support her. And then it showed the wife, Lucille, is she took the pastor spot and she gave her testimony. And Charles was in there playing the music, and she gave a nice little powerful speech, and it shows Nicole like looking up to her mom. Also, I failed to mention when Maurice told Lucille that he was engaged. After she left, she came home, pretty much told Charles Maurice wasn't who she thought he was. And so Charles like, what you going to go home with me on tour? And she was like, nah, the only man I need right now is the Most High, pretty much. So she still went through, not with Charles. And so back in Atlanta, Angel was pretty much telling Meech that she's going to perform one last time, and then she saved up her money. She's going to go back to her hometown and open up a center for women that's like her, to give them an opportunity and help. And she looked at Meech and told her he inspired her to bring it up out of her. And he pretty much said it was always there. It just had to come out. So they pretty much wrapping everything up. Then it showed back at Detroit, it showed Bryant and Jen at Bryant's house. And she pretty much said she's going to head, now that this is over, she's going to head to L.A. And, some gangs out there that she want to do some work with. Some Asian gangs that she want to do some work with. Bryant pretty much said, she asked him, what, you going to go down south? And he pretty much like, yeah, you still trying to chase Meech? And so he said he had to clean out his son's room. And she said, I'll help you. When my sister died, I helped my parents clean out my sister's room. And he pretty much like, nah, there's something I got to do on my own. So when they said Detective Jen is going to head out to L.A., we know eventually Meech and Terry, they migrate to L.A. for a time period. And so that's pretty much showing she's going to tie into that somehow or whatever. So we'll see how that works. And then back at also in Detroit, so you had Nicole made her dinner for the for her dad, because he was going away on tour. but they changed his time frame, so he came down rushing, pretty much telling everybody like, "Oh, I gotta go." And then Lucille was like, "Well, they made Nicole made this beautiful meal." He's like, "Well, I know it's great. I gotta go though. The bus leaves early." So, you know, he Lucille kind of was like, thought she would have some more time with him, and pretty much he ran out the door, and she was pretty much saying, "I hope it's everything that you thought it would be." And then her and Lucille and Nicole was at the table, and Nicole said a nice prayer over the food while Lucille was crying, and pretty much she told her, "You always said even though we're not around each other, we'll all still be connected with our hearts." So from there, she looked at Nicole, pretty much said, "You became, basically, you growing up, and you became a beautiful girl, young lady, or whatever." So went back to Atlanta. Terry showed back up to Atlanta to celebrate their achievement, and they went to party. But before they went to party, they looked at the board that Meech always looked at, and now they got a board of the United States map. And Meech is saying, we need to, Terry pretty much be like, we got 4 or 5 states that, we kicking butt. Meech is at this time like, hey, we could have a half a ton in every state in the U.S. And then Terry was like, man, can't we just chill? He was like, nah, it's always something to do. And then pretty much Terry was like, well, let's do it. And so Terry did have a conversation with one of his guys from Detroit where he mentioned, well, Meech is always going to be the face of BMF, you know what I'm saying? And then pretty much his homie said, well, use that to your advantage because people will never see you coming. You just move and meet shadows or whatever. So they end up celebrating at the Platinum Club. And while they were celebrating, you see Meech pretty much. And they always throw these in, so we don't know if this really happened. But around this time, this is like 91, 92 still, Deion Sanders was playing with the Atlanta Hawks and also played baseball as well. So it had a scene where they at the club and Prime was supposed to be there, and they sent him some bottle service, and he came over to thank him. And so that is dope that it was actually Prime's son that was playing as him, like his younger version of him, and he had a conversation with Meech and Terry, and it's his son Shiloh that played as him on the episode. So that was dope, that was dope, and he sounded like Prime, so it just fit right in. That was good that they did that. Now the Tupac one, that was outrageous. that Tupac one was outrageous, but the Prime one was good. So Loco's henchman came in, pretty much saying he got locked up in Mexico. He only trusts Meech, and they need help. He need Meech help to break him out or whatever. So Meech is pretty much like, well, we gotta go to Mexico. Terry like, nah, what you talking about? How we gonna hold stuff down? And then Meech was like, yeah, well, Duffy get feeling for me. The other guy get feeling for Duffy. The other guy could fill in until Hoop get right. But if we don't get down here and help Loco, he like family. We ain't gonna have no weight anyway. So the episode pretty much end with Terry and Meech in Mexico. It keeps showing Terry with the phone too. So we all know that in the documentary, Terry gets they really didn't have much on Meech, and Terry they get Terry. They really got Terry because he's always on the phone. So that's what they keep showing, is Terry always on the phone, and of course Meech wasn't. So that was this season. End of the episode. Still was a great season. This is one of the best shows that they have running, and it's playing out. So I know a lot of people that's tuning in be feeling in like, yo, I lived that life. I lived that experience. Of course, they embellish a lot and put some stuff that could be far-fetched in there, but like Action Jackson, Meech, like that, those scenes, but they could be preparing Meech for different roles besides this role, you know, action roles where he playing a cop or something, you know, whatever. But other than that, another good season. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, tune in for the next series that's coming up to be reviewed is Power Book Ghost 2. I said Power Book 2 Ghost Season 4, the final season. And I already got the trailers on the channel, so check the trailers out. Till next time.